multi-million-dollar renovation on a church.
I learned that as a child, so that's actually never been a struggle for me.
You're not supposed to go into business all pumped up and optimistic that it's going to be the best thing in the world.
I think that's one of the big things.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Hogman here for episode of the Brick House Podcast, and I'm super excited to have my dear friend, lead pastor, People's Church, and just longtime friend, Tony Soller.
Yes.
Thanks, Tony, for
Absolutely.
coming out today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. And we really can say that. I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, we've probably known each other for, it's between 10 and 15 years.
Definitely. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Like, I don't even know how long it's been, but I remember I was actually at the bank when we had first met back at Scotiabank. So that's
it's been a long
been
time.
over 10 years. So it's probably closer to 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've helped me with a lot of real estate stuff.
I know. And you
So-
are also, yeah.
We have a good crossover of things.
Tell me about that, with real estate actually, because you are the pastor of a church. You're an inspirational guy. You're a father, husband, and you're a heck of a guy on the tools. You can actually do the tools as well too.
Yeah. Well, I think I probably got into that. I think by nature, I'm a builder. And so I definitely got into like home renovating, and then of course actual, not just renovating my own home, but then trying to actually be lucrative and do some house flips. So I did a ton of those with a real estate partner, like a ton. Like I think we did 30 houses.
Did 30 homes together?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
So-
it's funny. I remember showing up at your house one time, and when you talk about a renovation,
Yeah.
you say you are the king of renovation.
That
'cause
was
your
a
house
deep
was up
reno.
on stilts.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
was you. You put in a whole basement level on
Yeah.
that beautiful country property
Yes.
there. That was not just a renovation. That was a whole other home you built in there.
That was like one of those dream things and we still live there. We stayed there. So that was definitely like a project, that you love doing. And so it went deep. It really did. I don't know if I'd advise that to everybody because we lived in it. The fact that Michelle and I survived that, honestly, we did really, really good, but we were in it together. But that was one of the bigger projects of life. So I'm glad that season is
passed.
It's passed.
So tell me about, since we're talking about the real estate investment, when did you start investing in real estate? When did you, how old were you? What year was it? And did you start with house flipping?
Yeah, I think at first, I reached out. I have a good friend who's a realtor, and I had actually just said to him, I was interested in doing house flips. I had never done one. And so how it actually happened was he just said, well, can you do some renovation projects? And so he actually started just sort of recommending me to even clients that he had. So I did a bathroom or two, did some tile work, different things, and sort of just, I think really proving my worth. And it was still, I was actually just a young father. I had a 1-year-old, so he's 20 now. So this would be 19 years ago. And house flipping was a little hotter then. That was like, even was just really the beginning of like the TV shows and everything. But I was interested, and so I did a bunch of that stuff. And then a house came up actually not too far from here on Canada Street.
Yep.
And just over in that nice little pocket there.
It's a great neighborhood by
Yeah.
Lock Street South there. You're walking to the shops. It's a beautiful, beautiful old Victorians there.
It was just a great way to start, actually. It was a cool spot. And it was a big reno in a small home. And that's really what, I don't know, it sort of whet my appetite and saw the potential in it. And I got to say, probably was a little bit easier then. Obviously, houses weren't as expensive. But at the same time, I didn't have as much money either. So it was sort of like it was always risky. And but it started there, and it just sort of went project to project. And because I think too, I don't want to take anything away that I really felt I was also being mentored by my friends that were realtors. They had done a bunch before, and I was just glad they brought me into a partnership with them, and it lasted for a long time. We did a lot of houses together, and then I did 6 or 7 by myself.
So you started out with a strong partner, got a
Yes.
lot of knowledge,
Yes.
right? It kind of sounds like the fundamentals for any good business or good partnership
Exactly.
is starting out with a good mentor.
Yes. I feel like you do want to give a little shout out, because I don't know if I would have. I was scared to take that leap at first. I needed to be shown, like, even how to get financing in place, and how much you probably needed, and how much cash you needed on the side, and trying to also, like, even develop a strategy. How much is a reno going to cost? Sometimes you didn't have a lot of time to decide, so you're right there. You're just the roof, the windows, the kitchen, the this. You're just trying to quickly figure it out and throw in an offer. So I was just glad that I had a lot of teamwork and mentoring with that, and it just built confidence as we went, and I kept going doing it.
I say that home ownership gives people a lot of skills and character.
Yes.
Almost more so than the wealth it brings.
Yes.
Right, because you said there, because I think, and we'll jump to it too, because you also took on a massive renovation at People's Church.
Yes.
Like, you started with homes.
Yep.
And you did, and I've got to ask, because like, you did a multi-million-dollar renovation on a church where most churches are selling assets.
Yeah.
And you're investing almost $10 million into a brand new church. How does one do that in this market?
Yeah, I think all those things tie together. They definitely help that as you're going and you've done projects, and even, I would say, even my own home project, it was so big. It was a deep reno. I don't know. It just, you're building confidence as you're going. As far as the church goes, though, too, like, you know what? Both of these things were happening at the same time, because I did a lot of renovating. I feel like even at our church, we've been renovating for 25 years. We've updated the building multiple times, multiple areas, just to fit purposes that we were doing, or say programs we were running. We've been about that, but on a smaller level. But one of those projects, even years ago, probably 15 years ago, was a $1.8 million reno that we did. We needed an overhaul. We redid all the windows, stuccoed the building, that kind of stuff, and redid our sanctuary then. But fast forward to where we are now, is just like, I think too, we sort of been chasing, the church has been growing numerically, and so you're sort of chasing to facilitate that too, right? And we took this step. We started planning, and it was a while ago. It was 7-8 years ago we started the planning. But as I think so many things, life still shows up. Two things probably happened that sort of made that process a little bit longer. Our denomination asked us if we'd relaunch another church. We relaunched a church over here on Cumberland Avenue.
Right.
And so another sort of expansion thing, and we actually renovated that building as well. When we took that over, we put in a smaller kids play area in that church as well. And so we relaunched that church, sent about 75 of our people down there to bolster the launch of it. And so we had done that. So we had pressed pause on our project. And then on the 1-year anniversary of relaunching that church, and we had in the background had started to work again on our planning, getting ready to move ahead. And then COVID hit, literally on the 1-year anniversary. So we were trying to regroup. You're doing a ton of work with the city. You're planning. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a story all in itself. But I think for anybody that's going to do a major project, oh my goodness, you got to factor a lot of time for that.
How many moments were there? Because I look at a major project and I think a lot of fears come into play,
Yeah.
especially when millions are on the line. And it's not your money either. And
Yes.
I think because, a lot of similarities, I worry about other people's money almost
Yes.
more so than I do my own.
Mm-hmm.
How did you persevere to go through and continue on the project when you were continuously hitting those roadblocks like COVID?
Yeah. Well, when COVID hit, definitely something that I probably hadn't even probably anticipated, how much money you're going to spend just to get ready in a large project. We spent close to $1 million to just have all the plans done, all of that stuff in place, like all your different levels of your budgets, and just the engineering, especially you're trying to take an already existing building, but give it a great, fresh, new renovation. Like it was legitimate. And so there are definitely moments when we had spent 400,000 and 500,000. I remember it hit me that we had spent $250,000, and I was like, are we actually going to get through this? Are we going to get, like, is there ever going to be a shovel in the ground? And we've spent a chunk of money, just even getting ready. And then, of course, COVID came, and we had more than 2 years. Well, there was a whole year. Now, wasn't all in a row, but there was a whole year we didn't have a church service in our building. So there was, I think it was, there was 57 Sundays that we were not in our building. And so just like probably every organization, you're pivoting, you're trying to figure out how do we continue to be what we're going to be. And probably one of those fears was, I was just like, is church even, like, say, like large group gatherings are, when we were in the middle of COVID, it was like, is that even ever going to exist anymore?
Right.
And you are navigating a lot of that kind of stuff. And so we pivoted through all that stuff. We got back meeting again. It probably took the better part of a year and a half, got back to normal. And then we kept pushing ahead. Like we kept pushing ahead and we kept putting the money into, because it felt like a lot of money. Kept putting the money into the planning. And then, just step by step, our church was getting excited because we were also telling the story. We really were trying to talk about, we can't stay where we are. We got to have, we had a compelling vision that we were going to move ahead. We had lots of new people. The church was growing. It's very interesting too, like when you're building something, an interesting thing that happened was, we were trying to build our church to facilitate growth, but a lot of growth happened while we were doing the process.
Wow.
Just because I think people buy into vision as well. People feel vision. People feel like they know you're going somewhere. And I think that also goes with everything. I think that goes in every area of business. Like, you're trying to grow something. If you're going somewhere, people can buy into that. They can take hold of it. And if they're seeing the steps, and it was a lot of steps, and there were a lot of moments you're like, man, are we ever? And there were frustrating moments because it is hard with some of your planning. And I'm so thankful too. I've got just an amazing executive director that works with me. He literally, at times, he went down and sat at the city and waited for planners. Like, just because no one would answer the call or no one would call back, and we wanted to move ahead. And so you got to have some tenacious people with you that you just keep going. You believe in what you're doing, and you push through. And I think, a whole lot of faith that you're going to pull this off. And
there's got to be those moments where you're $1 million into it. You're wondering whether or not there's even going to be, like you said, public gatherings anymore.
Yes.
But you need to still not only, I say sell, but you are painting the picture, the vision to other people. But were there moments and times where you had to sell yourself? To say, Tony, is this, I got to tell everybody here that it's going to happen. Do I believe that it's going to happen still?
Yeah. I think, you constantly regroup with your plans and what you believe you should be doing. And they're definitely, I think all through leadership, there's those highs and lows. I think that all of us, as you're trying to lead any organization, you're trying to not fall too low and also not to be unrealistically high either. People, I feel like having people come alongside of you, consistency really matters. And you have to regroup. You regroup in those private moments. And you also, it also really helps with who you have. We have for our church, we have a board of directors. We didn't make these decisions actually in isolation. We made them together. And we, even as a church, it also wasn't just that we have a board. The board, we also, when we're going to basically spend more than 10% of our yearly budget, we have to have an approval from the whole church, from the membership.
That's brilliant. I just finished reading a book. It's actually called The Road Less Stupid.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
by a guy named Keith Cunningham. And one of his takeaways from the book is advocating all small business owners to have a board of directors.
Yes.
Because you're not supposed to go into business all pumped up and optimistic that it's going to be the best thing in the world.
Yes.
Because to your point, you don't want to ride those highs.
Yes.
And you don't want to sink into the lows. But a board of directors
Helps you.
really
Yes.
helps you. I mean, now I want to talk about your renovation because for those that haven't seen it, and I remember when you guys launched, your church does not look like a church.
Yeah.
It is like, and I loved your talk when you said, listen, most churches have a door closed and you can't see what's inside.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm going to make the whole front of it glass.
Yeah.
So everybody can see what's going
Yes.
inside, right?
Yes.
How did you come up with that idea, number one? And number two, your peer group must have given you some feedback or adversity or commentary on you going against the grain.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did that look like?
Well, I think there's a bunch of things there. One of the things when we were even designing our church, we were like, we also want this to fit like what's happening on the inside. We didn't want it to look like it was an old old style, especially that idea closed in, as you mentioned. Lots of churches you can't see in, and churches really are a place for public to gather. So we really want to demystify, because it's so interesting. Even when I invite people to church myself, like people's perception of what church is, they probably think, I don't know, liturgical, just traditional speeches, and probably old hymns.
Well, I can say it's based on one experience. Like when my parents took me to a church when I was a kid.
Yes.
And it's like, I think for a lot of people with a lot of things, if you have one experience,
Yeah.
that's all you have to draw from. So then that is your entire recollection, which is unfair. That's not the case.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the other main things that people go inside a church often for a wedding or a funeral,
True.
right? And those are absolutely important ceremonies and things that the church is involved in, but they definitely don't capture what a regular Sunday is like for church. But back to our building, we wanted to put glass across the front. We want people to be able to see what's happening inside, and that's even to demystify. There's a lot, like, as much as I don't like it, there's lots of bad reputation of things that have also happened with churches and leaders, and so we definitely we have this like really open policy, and we want people to see and see that it's alive too.
A friend of mine that actually had a quote that reminded me and said, "The truth fears no questions."
Yes. No,
and when
absolutely.
you operate with radical transparency,
Yes. Yeah.
ask any questions
You
you
can
want.
come and see all the people and see, and to like, we have such a big focus on, we have a big focus on families. We have a big focus on, every generation. So a big priority of our church has been young people and children. We've had a daycare for 50 years. It's actually the largest single site daycare in Hamilton. So we have around 200 children in our daycare every day. So it also, like, we want it to look fun, exciting. Like, that's even a thing even about, like, church life. Like, I am very serious about my faith, and if you come to church, you'd experience that. But I also, like, I really want to enjoy life. I love a good laugh. I love, hanging out with people. And so many people, I think, in our church are like that. We're sort of like a laid back, but I think we love to enjoy people, community, all of that. And so we wanted our building to really represent that as well. Yes, of course, we are people of faith, and we're going to talk that up. But also, we like, it's been like an open invitation.
It's almost like in business, you have a push strategy and a pull strategy,
Yeah.
right? Where, I see businesses or churches or any organization push to get business. Whereas what I really admire about you and going to people's and seeing it is that pull strategy. You've put in so much thought process, like even with like my 9-year-old daughter, Lila, going to church the first time, the lure was the playground.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
thought that was great. But then now she's in a community now, and she's like, she sees something different, and she's like, oh, this
Yeah.
is kind of cool. And I think the thought process of talk about that playground you have there.
Yes.
I want to play on it. Like
Yeah,
it is
so
so
do I.
it's so cool, right? But
Yeah.
it's so thoughtful in every sense of the word.
Yes. I think like trying to meet needs, like trying to help families, because we have this beautiful new play area that honestly, even you look at it in drawings, and then actually it's like one of those moments. Even when I saw it coming together in person, I was like, this is even better than I thought. Like but also too, we've also set up a multi-sensory area for special needs children. And really, these things, we didn't just create them to have them. We've created them because it's good for families, it's good for children. And same thing, you know what? I grew up going to church too, and I look back and I just remember actually a lot of the fun I had. I enjoyed it. So I think we've upped that a notch, but also it totally works. We have so much stuff for children, and it is a bit of a hook, I guess, inviting people to come in. But you know what? Like it also fits into our model. For us, we've done so much stuff, it's just free.
Yeah.
Like our focus is we offer so many, like we have a large sports league that we've been running now for almost 15 years.
You say free, right? But like, how many people do you have on your staff, let's say, that volunteer at the church? Like, and how many people are part of the congregation? Because the flock is massive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
make this happen.
Yeah, it's growing. Like we're definitely like real attendance is between 14 to 1,600 people will come there, like to church between our two sites. And it probably takes, I think we probably have 300 to 400 volunteers that help us run it. We can't even run a service on Sunday without 100 people.
Wow.
So like just between people that are in the parking lot to people that are greeting you at the door to when you have a couple hundred children come through your children's programs, you have all sorts of leaders for that. We have junior high programs even happening on Sunday mornings. And then, you have a live band. You have, we are online, we're streaming. You have a whole production area. You have someone that's, mixing the sound for online. You have your sound people in the room. You have lighting people. There's a lot happening. Ushers, greeters, like.
How do you take it? How do you take the lead with all those people to go from, I think, a small business, a small church having 100 people, let's say, come on a Sunday to 10xing that? What skills or what is probably the number one growth thing that you've had to do to manage that?
Yeah, I think so much probably because we like where we are now is not where we started. Like in 2000 or in 1999, I was through I remember Y2K there. Oh my goodness.
I remember
We
that.
thought the computers were going to go down. People
Going
were
to zero.
Yeah.
Going back to zero.
People were buying generators and water.
And toilet paper.
It's all those things. When we go back there, we were a couple hundred people. I think one of the things with us was knowing and learning how to scale. There's all these seasons, like trying to figure out. I have this imagery. I didn't someone said this to me years ago. They said there's always foxes to chase, but you got to figure out which ones. And I think for us is that just like, sometimes it's through pain. You're just like, oh, we're not doing good follow up, or oh, people come into our building and they don't know where to go. There's no signage, or they don't know what next steps are. How do they get involved? How do they become a volunteer? All these things. And so we just scaled. And you definitely have these thresholds that you have to become different, and we've done that over and over again. This like being there for a long time too is like, even myself, I've had like major seasons of reinvention. Leading the church when it had 300 people, and then leading the church when it had 500 and 700, and then when it had 1,000.
What was probably one of those big changes that you had to do if you can remember?
Yeah, well, probably the main thing is actually learning how to share like responsibility, being able to delegate, also being able to galvanize really amazing leaders that will come and join you in like, I think that is such a key leadership thing that can be underestimated. If you want to lead something further, you've got to be able to convince amazing people to join you in it. Like, you have to be able to do it if you're going to scale to a large, because even now, like, how does it happen now? Like, even so much of even say the details of say the management behind the scenes, like volunteers and all of that. Well, we have 3 or 4 people that do that now. I couldn't do that without them, and they're way better at it than I was, say, trying to take us from 3 to 500. I have people now, or our church. I'm not their owner, obviously, but we have people that are part of our team now. They're just professionals in that area, and they have the ability now to take it so we could go from 1,000 to 1,500. So but being able to bring those other people in, reinventing, lots of small improvements. That's another principle that I really believe in. Like, I think lots of people will talk about that with organizations, like being an improvement culture.
They have one, the aggregation of marginal change.
Yes.
Or aggregation of marginal improvements, where it's like the 1% compounded daily.
Exactly.
Adds up to a whole lot of change.
And
right?
And it's so much easier, like, definitely in church life, I feel like historically, change is a hard thing, even to probably bring into a faith group. If anywhere, it's probably because, they have such a long history, right? But sometimes it's just like when if every change you do, you feel like you're jumping a sidewalk and turning around and going down another road, man, not everyone can stay on the bus. Like, they fly off. So
that's a huge point there, right? Because a lot of times I find myself in thinking I need to shake up everything. I need to flip the table.
Yes.
But if you do that too many times, it's going to be hard to keep the great leaders then too.
It is.
Because they won't see that as a sign of consistency.
No. And I think that small incremental, but like continual small changes, like it's almost like that plane that's just taking a slow turn. You don't even know you're turning. You're actually just captivated. You see the town down there and you're just watching. You don't realize you're turning. But if they did it hard and you felt like, 5 Gs, you feel like, I never want that to happen. I thought we were going to die.
Well, and you know what? You said something, and it really resonates with me, because you enjoy life. You want to enjoy the journey. By making 1% changes, you can enjoy the journey along the way, because it's like you say, it's a little bit of a change. We're going on this side now, instead of being like, nope, abrupt turn, near death experience.
Yeah.
Let's try again.
Because sometimes you have to make some radical shifts, but if you've been there for a while, that's less and if you've been in a steady growth pattern, I think you can, and I think it's good for you. That you're making less of those. I know that every once in a while you want some out of the box idea, but you can't have those all the time. You need just steady, continual growth sort of objectives and plans and strategies, and people can actually say, okay, I can see how I can play a role in that. And it's easy to put your hands to it. They can hold on, they can take hold of it, and it is the compounding of it.
Right.
It's just like anything that's actually more doable. And also it's not nearly as like we'd all like to make a whole bunch of money in a moment, but you got to risk a lot more if you like just in the short term. But you probably can almost guarantee consistently you can, so
1% change. Where do you get your learning from? Because you've had to elevate yourself all the time. You mentioned a leadership summit.
yes,
That is not just faith or church based.
yes.
Right? Can you talk a little bit
Absolutely.
about that?
I think just overall, like I think anyone who's leading anything, you're leading a business, you're whatever area you're in. I tell this to my own staff, and even anytime I literally was just doing a leadership training last week when I was in the Dominican with their team, and one of the main things is that I tell everyone, whatever area you're leading, you need to be the in-house professional of that area. So like, you hire someone in, say, in your department, whether they're your mortgage specialist or they're your insurance specialist or whatever, or they're your B lender specialist, but in their area, I would encourage them. I'm like, hey, I expect you to know more about working with those lenders than even I know. I need you to be my in-house professional. So you got to be learning. You got to be watching things. You got to be listening. You got to be seeking out other people that are doing what you're doing. And I would say for me, one of the things I actually like, I'm not trying to put myself down. I don't think I'm the most talented person in the room. But what I feel like I do is that I can see a part of someone's idea and I can go, ooh, I like that part. And I like that part. And I sort of like what they were doing. And I can take those things and I can create something that works for us. And so I think I look that for me, I'm a bit more of a filter of leadership ideas. And so I'm listening to all sorts of people. I watch all sorts of people. I watch all sorts of business leaders, and as you mentioned, I've been part of events. The leadership summit, the global leadership summit is a training that I've gone to for years. But there's other ones. I'm not afraid to go and try to glean from anybody that's doing something. I think we waste just good opportunities if we don't open ourselves up and just to learning from people.
I think that's really important. I know for me recently, there was a big push to go outside of our industry, right? Because I think sometimes you're in an industry and you get associated with all the industry networks and the industry professions and all their groups and organizations. But it's almost like you're stuck in the same learning from the same people. But I like what you talk about with that. You're not just in a faith-based or church-based, you're learning from a business or from other people, right? Because you can capture something that you can capture with that 1% from a completely unrelated business, and it'll actually give you more ideas than if you just stay within your own industry.
Yes. Oh, there's so much. Malcolm Gladwell has a book where he talks about how, this dad, I think he was he was anyway, he became the coach for his daughter's basketball team. And he really was the one who instigated. I don't know if it's taken too much stretch, but sort of the back pressure that they started to play in basketball. You know how basketball would usually you'd make a play at one end, everyone just runs to the other end and waits for everyone to come back. Right. And a guy that didn't play basketball was familiar with other sports and just wanted to help his daughter have a better basketball team. So I was like, well, why don't we apply pressure as they're coming back?
Right at the start.
Even start breaking up the play. And it's funny. So all the basketball people didn't come up with that. It was someone outside of it. And so definitely there's some things that, that apply in that way that that sometimes somebody outside of your area, you'll be like, oh my goodness, that's a translatable idea that we're not even considering because we're sort of a little bit in our echo chamber.
Yep.
And I think there's so much to just be out there and be listening.
Well, I think there's a huge characteristic that you have that we haven't labeled yet, but that's humility. You must have humility in order to go outside of yourself and your
Yeah.
business and everywhere else and say there is a better way to do this. Because without that humility, you'll get stuck in the ego of thinking you're doing
Yeah.
it great.
Yeah. You don't want to be in your own echo chamber. You also want to surround yourself with amazing people. I think too, it's like humility. I think one of the other things about leadership too is like, man, if you have a problem with your self-esteem, that also is like, well, you don't listen to anyone. You have to be the loudest voice in the room. Everyone's sort of got to, I don't know, appeal and adhere to you. And I think one of the, like, it's just important. And I know that that's different for everyone. I would say that to any leader. I'd be like, hey, work on that area so you're not afraid of great people. You're not afraid of even them in your organization. One of the things I love about even our church organization, communicating is a big thing. Obviously, like being you speak to people, and so communication is like a main thing. But even though I love to communicate, I share a lot of that. I probably speak about 50% of the time. So lots of lead pastors would speak all the time in their church, and basically when they're on vacation, someone else will speak. That's not how we don't function that way. But in that space, now because of that, we have like 5 or 6 great communicators, right? So we don't lose speed if I'm not there. That's a major thing. But also, I also have to be okay with them excelling. Like they're like, hey, I like it when Pastor Phil speaks, or I like it when Pastor Nevin or Pastor Esther speaks, or Pastor Leah. And like you go down these things, and you're like, but that's good. If you're insecure though, sometimes you start making bad decisions, and you don't let people flourish. And anyways, so be learning, be humble in your approach to learning, and that you haven't arrived. You've never arrived. Like.
Tony, I think
Yeah.
my soundbite there is like, you don't ever be afraid of great people,
Yes.
right? Because, if you're true to your mission, vision, what you want to grow, I think the takeaway is really you got to have a platform, and you got to let other people get up on it.
Yes.
You got to help them get on it, and they might be higher than you and
Yeah.
probably smarter. But
Yes.
that's how the mission or vision will grow with spirituality, whether it's business or whatever it may
Yes. Exactly.
I was going to ask just a little
Yeah.
shift here. Is that also what is it today that you find? You're really in touch with the community. What is it that people are in most need of today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. I think all of us have. I think there's an inner. I don't know. There's an inner part to all of us that, like having purpose and meaning and living to something bigger than yourself. That's one area. That's more like I'd say personal. I also think that so many people just want community. Like I think that there's a lot of fracturing that's happening. Just oh man, like that's a whole other conversation. But I would think even like living in Canada, I mean I literally would say it's a thing of prayer concern for me because I don't know if I've thought there's a time that's more divisive than now. Like there's so much stuff that people are worked up about, but I also think in the midst of that, I think like people really need to be among people and be in community, be in relationship. It's like one of our church has sort of 5 main values, and live in community is one of them. And so, and that doesn't just mean that just our church community. Like that's actually everyone's welcome to come in and be part of our community, and in that community you get care, you just get people are interested in you, you're known, and people, like, and I think we all need that. And I think I feel like there's a good pushback. I would say family structure. I see there's lots more families. Probably the financial issues in society
Yep.
are forcing families to work together. You see a lot more families now having generational homes and all of that. But definitely, I would say our society historically, I don't know when it started because I would say it was before maybe my time, but it was sort of like we were just launching all our families out.
Yeah.
We were just like, hey, you grew up, get
21, move out.
Yeah, get
Your
out
own
there.
house. And
Yeah.
I think the idea was you wanted to go on your own because that's how you demonstrated independence. That's how
Yes.
I demonstrated I'm a man or an adult, is by going out and
Yes.
fighting it on my own.
Yeah, and doing that. But I think that's and I think that there's stuff that's so valuable about that. But I think that at times we lost our connection with our families. And I think that even in that space, I feel like there's a bit of a taking that back. Maybe finances has caused a little bit of that, or maybe a bunch of it. But I definitely think that so many of us, you want to go through life with people with you on the journey. You want to, you just want to know that people are concerned about you and that people you're seen, you're heard. Because it's interesting. Like there's two things about that I love about even church life and even pastoral life. Like on one hand, I'm caught up because I love this growing entrepreneurial building part of even church life and the building of it as an organization and all of that. Love all of that. But I also am also still right there. I'm going to hospital beds and I'm with families. Well, people are dying and you're with people in the highs and lows of, new babies and weddings and all that kind of stuff. But you're also with families in their tragedies and their difficulties. And so it's like this beauty of like, yeah, we're an organization and we're growing and we got to be on that. But you're still this whole other personal side that I think so many people just want that. They want to experience that, and it's so I think that's a huge thing that I think that people are looking for, and even sometimes I think even like people are like, why are people going? Why are people like? There's a resurgence. Why are people going back to church? I think that's one of the big things
For the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that also too people are also thinking about, hey, is there something bigger than me? I'll at least entertain that conversation, and we have people all the time that are coming. They're just sort of they don't even know yet why they're even there for. Like they're just coming in and checking it out and just like, does it resonate with me? Does it, how do I even feel in this environment? Because sometimes it's so foreign for people. Right?
I think it's actually coming back for a lot of people too, because I know for me, I've always been in the personal development space.
Yeah.
And I would think that that's one of the OGs of personal development.
Yes.
When you go in and I hear you speak, right?
Yeah.
There's so many great values and fundamentals that I've gotten out of books, but those books are actually just a divergence from the one book.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Which is very interesting, but I didn't know that because that wasn't in my upbringing.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think that there's always this drawing back to, I feel like there's a drawing back, even in Canada, where I would say we're a secular country. But there is a resurgence of those values and like, hey, maybe I need to rediscover this. And so I don't know, we're up for it.
Yeah, I like it. You mentioned finances. I wonder right now. So it's a very expensive time to own homes, right?
Yes.
We hear this a lot. Now we have a big push on. My first house was a duplex.
Yeah.
I lived in the lesser quality unit and rented out the nice unit
Yes.
because that was the way to get things started. Is that something you're seeing? Because I'm sure you give out financial advice too, being in your position in that. And is this a conversation that young adults are having right now to try and help with their finances?
Absolutely. I think that we're definitely in a nationwide, but probably worldwide too. Like this is a challenging financial time for people. But I definitely think for young people, young adults, trying to take that first step. I'm with you that I believe in home ownership in that, you know, people sort of maybe not, I don't know, they won't do good, even if you're not a great saver, but you never want to miss a mortgage payment.
That is my fundamental, almost the hill that I die on with the rent versus own conversation.
Yes.
Because to your point, I think different asset classes do really well. Sometimes stocks do better. Many times they'll do better, but you will never miss your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
But if I come across hard times, I'll skip my savings payment
Oh, absolutely.
without a doubt.
Yeah. And so I think that the discipline that comes with it, with home ownership, and it's all those things are tied with it too. It's the pride of ownership. It's probably also, it gives you also something that you can actually put sweat equity into, buy a bit of a fixer up, or, buy something that's not quite as nice because you're going to do something. And that doesn't have to be a heavy renovation. That can just be a coat of paint or some carpet or whatever, or just cleaning the place up. Who even knows?
Well, in the world today too, I think to your point, you learned on your own with a great mentor, right? When you were
Yeah.
flipping homes. Today, I could buy a house, and if it needs new floors, I could YouTube it and
Yes.
probably figure out how to do it.
Yes.
Right. And then I get to your point, that pride. I can get deep pride and say, wow, I went from pink shaggy carpets to
Yes.
hardwood floor.
Yeah.
And I did that myself. And I think that's a skill you don't get from renting or if you don't
Yeah.
own.
And there's disciplines too. Like, even I remember when my wife and we bought our first home, like literally it was such a big step. And like, I think thinking you're going to get everything at once. We got like, I'm so happy. We bought a nice home, but I built a basement apartment, and we started renting our basement like right from the get-go. It was the plan. We were looking for a house with like a walkout basement. And we bought that, but it was a blank slate. It was a newer home, so we put in that apartment. But also, like, I remember, Michelle and I, we bought our first king size bed from Rose Hill Auctions for $400, and we had no bedroom set for like the first 4 or 5 years we were married, right? And I remember we had this, like, our front living room. The house had a smaller living room in the back that was sort of our TV room, where it was off the kitchen, so you sort of spent most of your time. But we had this nice front, it had hardwood floor and everything, but literally also for the first 5 years of our life, we had nothing in it. We used to call it the dance floor until we could afford a couch set. And even still, I think we bought it off of Kijiji, but it was nice. And I remember we finally had enough money. We bought a dining room set from Costco, but we went without, even though I say we had a nice home, but we just made decisions. We went without those things so we could own our home. We got into home ownership. And for us, that catapulted into so many other things.
Going without is actually a good thing today.
Yes.
I find that for whatever reason, there's a narrative that we shouldn't go without. And I think going without builds, to your point, like I know when I had my first place, I could only afford the mattress. I couldn't even afford the box spring, and it was on the floor.
Yes.
Right? So I did
exactly.
That was for my first year and a half. And then I made sure the bed was made when I had friends over because my living room was right beside it. There was no wall. So that was me cleaning up. But it delayed gratification.
Yes.
And I think what it did too is it really forced me to think about what I was grateful for. Like,
Absolutely.
Like I was the only friend that had their own place. So I was grateful that I could have friends over.
Yes.
I was grateful to have that sense of responsibility. And I think you can find gratitude in that delayed gratification. But it seems to be, is there a reason that's missing today or is it missing today?
Yeah, I think it might be coming back because, I think we can look at maybe even some of the financial challenges, and I know they are really real. I feel them too.
Yep.
But I also, there is a bit of a good side to it that it pushes us. We got to save a bit more. You got to work a little bit harder. That's actually not bad for you. Like, I'm not talking about, because I do know that there's a level where poverty begins, and that's a different conversation, of course, that we want to help people come out of poverty. But there's a lot of people that are in a little bit of a self-inflicted poverty because don't control any of their spending. They're always, there's just not enough money. There's more month than there is money. And I think like learning to be able to rein that in and, pay your stuff off or whatever, just get out of debt, get ahead. Cause it's interesting, even for us as a church, like one of the main things, like before I inherited a little bit, even for us as a church, we were sort of running on the edge. Right. And and I would say even more talented, my executive director, Willie, so talented in that area, moved us into a saving position, right? That we were just like, hey, there's got to be an amount that we just, and sometimes, and some years it was tough. Maybe it's only 2 or 3%. It's not like, whoa, that's like, it wasn't like, oh, we were saving 20%.
But those are the little improvements.
But if you're not in the red and you're just a little bit in the black, like same thing adds up over time. And even for us in this project too. So I know I'm jumping through a couple things here, but like we were spending our money, 12 million really with the whole project, with the planning and everything, that between saving and raising funds, we're closing in now to 7.5 million that we've already, taken in, put against our mortgage. So we're not in that debt. But if we didn't have a saving mentality, if we didn't live inside our means, none of that would have been possible. So it was a ton of discipline, not just easy to go, hey, like we can just go out and give. We saved more than we raised in just fundraising.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so sometimes I think even personally, on a personal level, we're thinking, well, I'm going to just go through this season and I'm going to do something great and I will find that secret money. And I'm like, actually, you're probably going to raise a lot more in just your daily diligence.
Yeah.
Over time, compounding. And so you got to have those habits to just create some margin, start taking some in, and I also think like start paying attention. People didn't teach me that. Like for me growing up,
save 10%, like 10% of your earnings. Yep.
I actually wish I had started sooner. I didn't come from like my family, and listen, my family and my parents taught me so many good things, but finances wasn't an area that we barely ever talked about. Their main thing, honestly, the main thing that I learned about finances as a child was that I was supposed to be generous with the church, right? So like we would call that like tithing, like giving 10% of your income, okay, to the church. So I learned that as a child. So that's actually never been a struggle for me because it's sort of like an innate thing. I'm like, before I do anything else, I give 10%.
Right.
And I know it might sound crazy, 10% before taxes.
Yeah.
So like, it's probably about 900% in Canada. No, I just
It's a bit. Yeah,
but the thing, like, there was this thing about learning how to manage money and actually like doing investments, savings, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't mentored in that by my family. So then same thing, had to go outside. I got to start watching other people, got to start having conversations with, people that are in finances and learn that for myself. Now I really pay attention a lot.
Yeah.
And also because, the other side of this is that now that I have one 20-year-old and I have a 16-year-old, like I'm trying to teach them what wasn't taught to me. So, and I'm trying to also set them up so that they're not going to maybe struggle the same way.
Yeah, it'll be different. I resonate with that a lot. My dad used to always tell me my financial advice. He was big on budgeting because he said, if you're broke making 30 grand a year, you'll be broke making 300 grand a year.
Yeah.
So managing a little goes a long way.
Yes.
And those little improvements. And I think it's unfortunate because everybody's looking for the quick, sexy, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money this way. But most millionaires have done it slowly over time. Yeah. Most people have made money slowly over time. And those little things, I'm glad you pointed that out. Those little things matter a lot.
I even think some of those, I do think that there are some of those big windfalls out there. But I think it happens more for people that have saved a whole bunch of money, and they actually can risk. Like when there's a lot of time of your life, you're not in a position to risk that.
Yeah.
You need to be careful. So you can't always like, but I think if you you save up some funds and you're investing and you've already experienced some, and also as you're learning, say even markets or real estate or whatever, you can make some more calculated risks that, maybe you can earn a bigger windfall. But it's when you have nothing and you're trying to get that big windfall, I think you're in a lot more risk.
I
You
think
gotta be
so.
careful.
And I think, you know what, for me, the house, right or wrong for some people, but the house for me has always been that certainty and that foundation. And I
Yeah.
knew when I bought my first house and I had the mattress on the floor on the duplex and was renting out the nicer unit to someone else, that was my piece of certainty.
Yes.
That I knew that I'll always make this payment. And I remember that's when I decided to go into a commission-based role versus a salary. I decided
Yeah.
to take a little bit more
Yeah,
risk.
exactly.
Because I had a little
You
bit of a
could.
foundation. Yeah.
You could.
I think that's...
I know I know you've even said that, like there's a difference, like having security and just trying to be like that's so important, that you're trying to get to a place in your life that you're not just you're not even you're in a job you don't even love, you hate it, because without it you don't have security. Right. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you're at a spot, well, hey, I don't have to work, I'm like, I'm independently wealthy. That's so few people. Like, but I definitely think trying to get to a spot that you're secure, so that, you can make decisions that, and I think that's also the thing that I'm hoping for a lot of young people and young adults, that, it is challenging out there right now. But you want them to be able to be in careers, not just in a career, a meaningful career that's meaningful to them. And I think so much of the time we have so many people are just like, I just want to take it easy. I'm just thinking about being, I don't know, at a resort sitting by. I can do that for a day or two, but I'm like, if someone said to me, like,
yeah. And this whole, I think with financial challenges, because things are expensive, but to your point, and I do agree, I think hard things for people are good things.
Yes.
Like nothing good came from sitting on the beach drinking margaritas.
Yes.
But a lot of good things came from when I struggled, when I had trouble making ends meet, when I had to really dig deep, and a lot of fulfillment comes from that as well too. Like when you achieve those really hard things, there's deep pride that you get, that you can move that on to the next challenge or next opportunity.
Yeah.
I got 3 questions for you, Tony, before we go, 'cause I could talk to you all day.
Yeah.
We're
doing it.
What is one thing that you've stopped explaining to people?
Oh, I think, I appreciate as I've gotten older, I think you just get a little bit more comfortable. Just be who you were made to be. Sometimes, like, I'll have, well, why are you trying to do that? Or why are you running after this? And I'm just like, no, I'm like, hey, you be you. I want you to be you. I want you to go after it. And same thing for me is just sort of like, you know what? I've got to be I would say for me, I got to be who God's wired me to be. The things that he's put on my heart, I've got to pursue those things. And it's all right it's all right to not be about everything. Because that probably in my area of work, like there is the same thing. Like someone can walk into my church and they go, well, why aren't you doing what so-and-so is doing? Why aren't you doing what that church is doing? Why aren't you doing what that organization is doing? And often those are really good ideas. Like they're like, hey, why don't we have a soup kitchen, or why don't we have free clothing to give away or whatever? And I think like just knowing what you're supposed to be about is really, really important, and sticking to that and staying on that. You'll have greater success being true to what you're supposed to be about than if you try to be about 100 amazing things. You can't do all of that. You got to rein in the things and go after the things that you're really about, and go after them fully. So
I love that. That's awesome. What's one book you'll recommend? I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I am definitely a Bible reader. I'll move outside of that, even though I would say that definitely, man, the concepts obviously of the Bible is.
You know what? On that note,
Yeah.
if I want to read the Bible, someone who hasn't read it cover to cover,
Yes.
right? Where would you start them? Because it can be
Oh, yeah.
overwhelming for someone who's not
Absolutely.
used to, like, I need glasses,
Yes.
right? And I need time, and just the way that it's written is not like
yes.
a normal book that I've read.
Well, it's
right?
it's
So-
a large book. It is a large
large
book,
book.
and it's divided into two parts: Old Testament, New Testament, which are very different moments and seasons. You know what I compare it to? If I could just
Yeah.
I think it would be like, have you ever seen like a medical encyclopedia? Okay, I could hand that to you and be like, hey, this will tell you how to be a doctor, right? And but you flip open the book and you're at amputation, like right. And sometimes the Bible in a way is sort of like that. So like if I see people sometimes like, I open something up here and I'm like, I don't understand this thing, and it's very similar to that. So it's like every scenario doesn't end in an amputation for a doctor, right? He has to know actually whole swaths of the whole book,
the context
right?
of everything.
And yes, and he can come back and reference it again, and even refresh his mind or their mind and all that. And the Bible is a big book with a lot of information, a lot of storytelling, but also a lot of like how even challenges on how we would live. So I would definitely say if I was just starting just out of the gate, I would probably start in the book of John. I would start in the New Testament. But definitely, I'd also probably do a little combination of, I'd start reading in John, but also I would read the Psalms. Lots of people are like, whether they even realize that there's things that they've heard, or I would say everybody knows, sort of like they would think, oh, that's some colloquial statement. And you're like, no, that's actually out of the Bible.
That's from the Bible.
You know what I mean? That was the Bible. But so Psalms are definitely, I would say, a real comfort place. Also the Proverbs, they're right next to the Psalms. So the Proverbs also are like, it's called wisdom literature. Man, the Proverbs are sort of just like, seek after wisdom, long for it, look for it, and gain understanding. And there's just so much there. And it's not just, I wouldn't even say it's just about spiritual things. It's just talking to you about practically living. So, but trying to also start a relationship with God, I'd probably start in the book of John, but I also probably just easier would start in the New Testament. And but I also, what? There's so much out there. I'd also say, try to get some, just same as like, can you learn it on your own? Yes. But I could, like, I'm a guitar player. When I first started, I spent hours by myself trying to learn how to play stuff. But then when I had a teacher, man, I could,
they can hone in the knowledge a lot better and then explain it at times too. It's just like, I think it's like with anything, you get a coach. You want to get
a coach.
If I want to go and learn baseball, I can go pick up a bat and a ball and figure it out.
Yes.
Or I could get a coach and be a heck of a lot quicker at it.
Yes. And I think it's like, I would say go to church, find a good church, find good mentors, but also like, and there are so many great resources to just help you discover what's actually, it's undeniable. Like, well, like God's word, like I think one of the main things, he says the two greatest things. What are the two greatest commandments? It says, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. Okay. Even to take that out of a bit of a spirit, I know that's such a spiritual conversation, but I feel like God teaches us in his word. It's just like, hey, it's not all about you. There's something bigger than you, right? And that's a principle that's good for everybody.
Yeah, that really strips it down.
Okay, that really and like in God, he's trying to say to us, hey, I'm just saying this to you. Have your eyes on me. Be about that. But then the next thing that he says, so that's the first, and he says the second is love your neighbor. He says these are the two greatest commandments. Everything else rides on those two things. That's I'm summarizing it, but that's basically what that's like reducing it all the way down.
Oh, wow.
So, anyways, it's just a simple concept, and if we get these things right, it's just good. But anyways, you just need those people in your life that can even break that down for you.
Yeah, Tony, I love it. One last thing before we go
Yeah.
here too is you know what? Everybody I think has a tremendous amount of urgency today to build the right skills and do the right things. What would you say if someone's going to work on a skill? What would be the number one skill that they should work on today?
Oh, I think I'm probably really biased. I think I really do. I think like people skills are actually like working with people, learning how to develop your ability to work among people, helping people, because you can be skilled at something and not like I'm not taking away from anybody's skill level to being able to pull something off, but it becomes way more meaningful when you can do that in interaction with people, whatever that is. Even if you're in sales, even if I don't know, you're trying to lead a company, actually be invested and interested in people, get to know their stories, get to know people's wiring, that kind of stuff. Get outside of yourself. Like people stuff is where it's at. And I know people are driven in all sorts of things. I'm like, you're going to do those things. If that's your natural wiring, like if you're a developer, if you're a creative business person, you're going to do those things. But take some people on the journey with you. And I would say, I say this to my boys. I've said it to them since they were children. I was like, I don't care what you're going to do with your life, but do something that helps people. I don't care what field of work you're in. Like, get outside of yourself. You will lead a better life. I just think this, I say this to myself, and I'd say this to anybody. I'd be like, don't leave the world the way you found it. Make it better, right? Make it better. And how do you do that? Mostly is you do it by investing in people. So whatever field of work you're in, invest in people.
I love
Like you're in a creative, I think your work too, especially is like, it's such a key thing. It's helping people find homes. It's helping people with their finances. It's a major, but at the end of the day, it's like, you'd be like, hey, I'm helping people get homes. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm like, you're in the people business too.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
I think you meet people where they're at. And I think for us, our success has been abound. We want to leave people better than when they came. And if that means buying a house because it's great for you, great. If that means starting up a savings plan and that's where you're at, great. If that means fixing your credit because that's where you're at, great. Yeah. If that just means having a conversation about what is a house, like it's any type of thing. And I think that's fine. I know for me, finding fulfillment in that means a lot because it's just leaving people financially better off. Doesn't mean they have more money, but they've got a little bit more knowledge.
Yes. Well, it's that investment. You're investing in people.
Yeah.
In whatever space that is. And I think that that's where the real value is, actually.
Tony, I love you as a human being. Thank you so much for doing this. You're utilizing your most precious resource, which is time. And I'm very grateful for it. So thank you. And if people want to reach out to People's Church, how do they reach out to it? How do they come?
Yeah, it's really easy. Actually, our website is just www.thepc.ca. I don't think it can get much easier than that.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And you can just check out there and see where we are, where we're located, and even you can see a lot about who we are, what we're doing. And we'd love for you to come visit us. We have 2 sites, one on Cumberland Avenue, one on Mohawk Road, and we're online too. Yeah. That's another thing you want to check out Faith or check out church. That's another way you can do it. Lots of people do that way. They often will watch for even months or even a year and then come see us in person. So awesome. Any of those ways. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tony. Appreciate your time.
All right. It's awesome. Thank you for the opportunity.